Good morning, Terraria players, and welcome back to the Calamity mod 1 block challenge. I am Bladeburger, your local burger enthusiast. Apologies for no video last week. I had a really bad sinus infection and couldn't do much. Also, I am being subjected to very bad burnout from the Calamity mod. Not from making videos, but from the Calamity mod itself. But now I'm back, and in this episode we take on the Sentinels of Big Worm. Of course, as usual, here's a list of the main mods used in this run, with Calamity mod and the 1 block challenge mod by Jingle Bells. If you have any suggestions for content mods or quality of life mods, let me know down below. The content mod after this one is a suggested mod, so be sure to give me suggestions in the comments. Before we get into the episode, I will actually have an announcement soon on the channel once I actually beat this mod before the final episode's premiere. Watch out for that, it's gonna be a fun one. And now, let's begin this crusade against the Big Worm. To start right off, I grabbed the Rune of Kos, or some say Cosm, from the magic storage to get ready to fight. The rune had dropped from Providence and could summon the Sentinels based on where the rune was used. I started in the Underworld with Cygnus because he is easy. Let's get into the fight. Cygnus down. Inside his treasure bag, he dropped Twisting Nether, a crafting material for the summon for his master, the Big Worm. He also dropped his expert mode item, the Spectral Veil, which was a rogue accessory that allowed teleporting. Useless to me. Next up, as this is a boss rush episode, we have the next envoy of the Big Worm, the Stormweaver, also a Big Worm. The Stormweaver could be summoned with the rune very high up in the sky. Let the fight begin. Stormweaver down. Inside his treasure bag, it held armored shells, another crafting material that was like the Twisting Nether from Cygnus. It could go into the summoner for the Big Worm, and also make the Gallowhorn. Neat. It did not have an expert or a vengeance mode item. Of course, I immediately moved on to the next boss. In terms of raw footage for the Sentinels that I recorded, these 3 boss fights took only 15 minutes in raw footage for me to get to. Normally it's like an hour in between bosses because I goof off, but I went straight to the third and final envoy of Big Worm, the Ceaseless Void. This envoy was summoned inside the dungeon, which I had upgraded into a massive arena. Enjoy this fight, as I sure didn't. Ceaseless Void down. Inside his treasure bag, it held Dark Plasma, the third and final component to the summon item for the Big Worm. It also held its Expert Mode item, the Evolution, which reflects projectiles on a 2-minute cooldown, but any of the same projectile afterwards deals 15% less damage and gives you a big health regen buff. Seems strong. With all the materials acquired, I crafted the Cosmic Worm, the summon item for the Devourer of Gods, aka Big Worm. There was a bit more I had to do before fighting the Devourer, however. I farmed Phantoplasm in the dungeon for a while to craft the summon for Poltergeist, the next modded boss. It was made from spooky wood and Phantoplasm. And now, let's get into a fight against the Poltergeist, the spooky Plantera thing. Enjoy! Poltergeist down. Not too hard. Inside its treasure bag, it held ruinous souls, which were used in a bunch of weapons and armor for this stage of progression. It also dropped a weapon in its loot pool, and its expert mode item, the Affliction, which gave life regen, more max life, damage reduction, defense, and just flat damage. Pretty strong item. Its Revengeance mode item was the final upgrade to Adrenaline, increasing the damage dealt by it and giving an increased damage reduction when charged or being used. With it down, I was able to get a summon item from its treasure bag, the Ethereal Subjugator. It summoned a mini Poltergeist that took up only half a minion slot. I then crafted the Sirius, an upgrade to the Sun God staff from earlier. It consumed any remaining minion slot that existed and grew in power based on the slots used. Next up, I remembered the Elderberry existed, the third of 4th health upgrades, craftable after Providence, but I am on Poltergeist. I then crafted the Blood Flare armor out of Ruinous Souls and Blood Flare cores. This armor set will take too long for me to say out loud, so I'll just let y'all read it. I then upgraded my Hollowed Rune to the Phantopic Artifact, which buffed the buffs that the Hollowed Rune gave. Afterwards, I opened up a bunch of treasure bags from Leviathan and Ahamkara to get the Community, which gave buffs to all stats based on how far you were in progression. Pretty strong accessory. And with that, we finish all that I needed for this episode. Let's take a look at upgrades made. For armor, I went from Tarragon armor to Bloodflare armor. For weapons, I acquired the Ethereal Subjugator and the Sirius. For accessories, I upgraded the Fan Topic artifact and the community. In the next episode, we take on the Big Worm as we get closer and closer to the end of this mod. Stay tuned for that next week. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Blade Burger out.